Follow the money. That's what I always say. You always follow the money. Yeah.
This is Follow the Money with Mitch Moss and Paulie Howard on VSiN.
Here we go, back in the saddle after vacation. It is Follow the Money here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Mitch Moss along with Paulie Howard. We're live in downtown Vegas from the Circa Resort and Casino. Busy, active program coming up today. Our guests coming up bottom of the hour, David Purdom, a professional bettor, placed 46 bets on one player in the NBA over a short span of time. And that player, again, has been under investigation now for a couple of years. That's coming up at that time. Jeff Sherman on the program from the Westgate Superbook. We'll get into their football contests and NBA futures now that the Summer League is over with. We'll touch on today's Major League Baseball card, a couple of the best teams that we'll break down today in the National Football League. Paulie, good to see you again. A week off. How you feeling, bud?
Good. I was stretching before the show and hurt myself. Got that. The leg came up.
It's fun getting old.
And my thumb, and there was blood. This is unbelievable. But I'm ready for the PK challenge if we ever do it.
Oh, yeah. You'll stop Nigel Seeley. No problem.
Yeah, good to see you. All right. We're getting close to the final week until we have football until February.
How about that? Yeah, next week. What are we, 10 days away?
Yeah, Hall of Fame game. The number's up. 1-33.
33.
Chargers-Lions next Thursday.
Bit high, the total there for you?
Seems about right.
Okay. We will begin today's show with weekend betting takeaways, Paulie. And number one has to be golf, right? Because it's like the mailman. It always delivers. Now, I get it. Most events are much closer than what we had over the weekend, and there's a lot of drama. You might get a playoff as well. But we also can't appreciate the dominance of Scotty Scheffler at the same time. That was remarkable. And the thing was basically over with going into Saturday. He was so good.
Yeah. Well, he's kind of ruining things from a viewership in terms of the casual fan, right? Or the golf fan, because he's so good. But from a betting standpoint, it always delivers. Because imagine the winner without markets.
Sure.
How crazy that was. And English must have been 100-1 or higher. And then you had the top 5, top 10 shenanigans and how that played out. So huge tickets cashed there on Lee. English got her up. And then how about DeChambeau from 144th to close top 10, what he did, his amazing turnaround.
Sure. What do you think DeChambeau was top 10 after Thursday?
Yeah, good point.
To be where he was completely stuck and going to miss the cut, and then he completely flipped it like you said.
Yes.
Now,
yes. Also Fitzpatrick's another one, what Clark was able to do. So, again, a lot of this stuff you can do in play as well, but the top 5, the top 10s.
It was a great leaderboard.
Yeah, and the first round was great, too, with the 5-way tie for first-round leaderboard. With that, so it was just nuts with some of the big tickets that paid out. You got to get it because he is so good. You have to get involved in the winner without markets.
Here's the mistake that I made, because after Scotty won the PGA, I still found a rogue plus 480 on him to win the U.S. Open when other books were like at plus 375. I'm like, I have to take that plus 480. He closed around plus 275 for the U.S. Open, didn't win. Then he got beefed all the way up to 6-1 here at Circa and at the Westgate and some other books. And that's a bad job by me because I never bet him at 6-1. I would tell you that anything above in the 5-1 range on him moving forward would be an autoplay in majors or basically any other event, but you're not going to get that kind of a number on him. And looking ahead to the Masters next year, look at some of these numbers. 4-1 at FanDuel, 3-1 at DK, here in Las Vegas, plus 350 at Westgate, plus 275 at Caesars Palace. Like, you can kiss the 5-1 or certainly the 6-1 goodbye.
Yeah.
Phenomenal story with that guy.
Yep.
In Major League Baseball, the Brewers. Now, how about this? They finished off not only the weekend sweep, but the season-long sweep of the Dodgers. And now their betting numbers have been on the move, obviously, as a result. Updated odds to win the NL. I saw us down as low as 10-1 earlier today. And I know that your takeaway was basically, I think it was before yesterday, but these division prices in baseball are nuts.
They are. So Milwaukee, longest winning streak, go back 13 in a row in 1987. That fun team, Rob Deere and that crew, which started the year 13-0. So they have the long winning streak. Yet the Cubs are still minus 260 to win the division.
I know.
At Will Hill Caesars. The Yankees are $1.10. Toronto keeps winning. Toronto has the huge series that starts again today against the Yankees, yet the Yankees are $1.10 to win the division. The Phillies are only $1.80 to beat the Mets, who are reeling, and all of a sudden have issues at home and pitching woes. And the Dodgers have lost 10 of 12, yet they're minus 2,000 to win the division. I think the door could be open for San Diego, who's got a doable schedule coming up. And then I still don't, it's a good run here, the last two series, but I still don't trust Seattle. I think Houston's too cheap. And you can find them in like $1.70 range at DraftKings to win the division. So I think, yeah, there's some of these markets and odds are out of whack to win the division in Major League Baseball.
Don't be afraid to do some division parlays.
Yeah, right.
I'm not afraid to do that. And I've done it with Milwaukee. That was like during the All-Star break and the week before.
Yeah, Cubs can't be 260.
Oh, no, way.
The
260 is way too wide. They're tied for the 1 seed right now, Milwaukee is.
That's right, yes.
So, and they did this, by the way, to the Dodgers like this month, right before the break and now right after it as well.
If they win tonight and the Tigers lose, latest they've had the best record in baseball since 1982. Nuts.
The year that they went to the World Series.
That's right.
All right. Also, the Summer League finished last night. Hey, look at that. The Charlotte Hornets won it. I won a bet. 35-1 to win the Summer League.
Wow.
They finished it off last night against Sacramento. They were super impressive. I'll give you a couple of takeaways on that team specifically for next year because I love the draft this season. And I'm not going to get completely nuts here with the Hornets, but some of the stuff that I noticed over the weekend and even today, because I think that team is absolutely on the come. You can get their win total is 24.5. At DraftKings, they offer alternate numbers. For example, 30-plus wins or over 29.5 is plus 220. I bet 14-1 to make the playoffs on this team. ESPN bet has 250-1 to win their division. That is a crazy number.
Well, between all these star players that are out in the East, and another thing that helped your case, now Paul George will reevaluate him before the season starts. So, again, the two worst contracts in the league are on the same team, Paul George and Embiid. I'm going to zag a little bit. Well, even though you cashed a ticket, I think this is hard to bet. Because look at the Atlanta scenario. They go undefeated, don't lose a game, but they can't make the semis because of point differential.
That was an absolute killer. I had them.
Yeah, that's a consolation bracket, but Atlanta goes undefeated and they can't get in the semis. The other thing, too, I told you before vacation, I was going to monitor how the moves went.
Sure.
This is just Friday and Saturday alone. Magic from 4.5 up to 5.5. The Jazz plus 1.5 to -1. Pelicans 2, open 2, close 4.5. Lakers 2, close 3-point favorites. Knicks plus 1.5 to -5.5. Toronto -3, bet up to 5. Pistons open 2, close 4.5. Portland -3.5 up to 5.5. All lost. All lost.
Oh.
And a lot of them in spectacular fashion. Like blown out.
Oh, yeah, killed.
Like the game yesterday. 5-point move on the Clippers, lost by 23.
That's
I can't bet.
remarkable.
Yeah, and a lot of these moves were not even close.
Trust me, I am not pointing to the scoreboard to tell you that, hey, man, I hit Charlotte 30. I have more on that coming up in an hour. I will rant on that for a minute because it's absolutely preposterous what some of these books do. But overall, it was a fun event. And how were they a dog over and over and over again, and they're blasting everybody.
Sure. Yeah.
One more. So on the NBA, we'll go to the WNBA here. And over the weekend, Team Collier defeated Team Clark in the All-Star game, 151 to 131. Nafisa Collier had 36 points, 9 rebounds, named MVP of the game. This is the year of the Minnesota Lynx. They're plus 195 in that neighborhood to win the title. They're still behind the Liberty. They're better than the Liberty. She's minus 750 or minus $8 to win the MVP. Awesome story here. They're 20-4.
Haven't lost at home. That was some win that the Chicago Sky had. Beat them before the break.
That's right.
Yes,
yeah,
but they're going to be tough to beat at home.
Are they? Do you think the Liberty are better than the Lynx?
No.
Neither do I.
No way. Nope. Another one. All sports leagues and commissioners should take a look at what poker did last week while we're on vacation. Michael Mizrachi won the main event, $10 million. He made the final table, I think in 2010, and finished 5th. He also, for the 4th time, won the prestigious Players' Championship, $50,000 buy-in. So he wins the main event. He gets the bracelet. They pay him the money. Right into the Hall of Fame. Beautiful ceremony. That's how you do it.
Sure.
For the Tom Bradys, the Derek Jeters, if you're all-time good, no waiting list. Just put the guy in the Hall of Fame right then and there. Well, you got to got to wait for 5 years, whatever. It's like that was unbelievable what they did. They brought out Helmuth, they brought out Ivy, they brought out other Hall of Famers, and they said, "Here's your money, here's your bracelet, congratulations. Oh, by the way, you go right into the Poker Hall of Fame because what you just pulled off was once in a lifetime." That was a great job by
Sure.
Poker.
And what is he, 40 years old?
Sounds about.
I believe is what I was reading online.
Well, come on, what a career! Think about what he just did.
Yeah. Do other leagues do that, like to build up suspense? Now you got to wait 5 years for your guy to get into the Hall of Fame?
I think it's ridiculous.
What's the point of the waiting game?
Yeah, I know. There's no point
To do what he did,
Yep.
and then for them to pivot like that and say, well, hold on a second here, Johnny. This is almost impossible what he's done now. He's got to go in, and bam, to slide like that. You had a good weekend here at Circa. Why is this one on the list?
Well, because
With casinos, and you can have some fun here.
every casino should take a page out of Derek Stevens' book and realize you got to get asses in the seats. Get people in the building, give stuff away, and don't worry about robbing people and charging people an arm and a leg for stuff. What Slottapalooza was a huge win. The garage was at capacity at 6 o'clock. He had the open bar 7 to 9. He gave out the free play as well. Every machine was taken. It's just the stuff like that he thinks of, where it's like, don't worry about resort fees, parking, all this stuff, right? Coming in, it's $25 for a rum and Coke, whatever.
Sure.
Get people in. You're going to have a customer for life with stuff like that.
You would be astonished, Paulie, at the lack of rewards that I've gotten over the last 2 or 3 years.
Yes, they're cutting that stuff out too.
Compared to the amount of play, like either at the sports book or on slots or at blackjack. And hey, by the way, here's $20 free play every month. What? Are you out of your minds? It's horrible. So we'll expand on baseball. That part of the weekend takeaways coming up next. 6 home runs off of this starting pitcher that he's going to face tonight. Details on that coming up here on VSiN.
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
We're live, downtown Vegas, Circa Resort and Casino. For those of you unaware of this story, we'll get into the update that we have on Terry Rozier, NBA player, by the way, who signed a 4-year, $96+ million deal with Charlotte back in 2022. At the time of the signing, his average salary was more than $24 million per year. He was traded to the Heat, been with that team since the 2023-2024 season. And David Purdom has been all over the story for ESPN. He joins us on the Progressive Guest Line to go a little bit deeper here in detail. David, thanks for the time today. How are you?
I'm doing great, guys.
So as your tweet said last week, a pro bettor placed 30 wagers in 46 minutes, all involving Terry Rozier, according to documents obtained by ESPN that reveal new details about the suspicious betting under scrutiny by federal investigators. For the people in the audience who are unaware of the story, can you give them the full backdrop of what took place on that day of the game?
Yeah, you got a flashback to March 23rd, 2023. Hornets are playing the Pelicans in New Orleans. It's kind of one of those late NBA season games that doesn't have a lot of meaning. Rozier, he's a veteran. He played 10 minutes before exiting the game, and he cites a foot issue. Nothing unusual there. Veteran guy, banged up late in the season on a team out of the playoff race. But what was unusual and what caught the sports betting world's eye is what happened earlier in the day. 6 sports books in multiple states reported seeing unusual betting interest on the under on Rozier props. So people were betting a lot more than usual on the under on Rozier, and he ends up leaving 10 minutes in. Among that unusual activity was what you mentioned happened in Biloxi, Mississippi. A guy, professional bettor, arrives at the sports book at Harrah's Gulf Coast early in the morning. He's there. First bet he places, according to the betting records, were at 9:37 in the morning of the game. He proceeds to place 30 bets, all on the under on Rozier props, totaling about $13,000. Under on rebounds, under assists, under points. Rozier leaves the game. He wins all 30 wagers.
Incredible. And one big bet was made at the window?
Yeah, a $2,700 bet was the largest that was placed by the professional bettor, according to the betting records. He was one of the guys that has betting limits. He is restricted a little bit, so he was just trying to get as much down as he possibly could at that time.
Are you surprised they paid him?
I I know Caesars, this is according to the records, that Caesars asked the Mississippi Gaming Commission to let them void the bets. Mississippi Gaming Commission asked them, hey, do you have any evidence of inside information was used? And Caesars did not produce any, and so they asked them to pay, and so they did.
So then after he made that one bet at the counter for $2,700, he then walked over to the kiosk and proceeded to make the following 29 bets at the kiosk there, so I guess nobody would notice?
So it started actually on the kiosk because he got there before the sports book opens. He starts on the kiosk. About 10 o'clock, the sports book open. He walks over to the counter, uses his player card, places the bet, the largest bet that he placed there on Rozier, and then placed a few more afterwards back at the kiosk. So 29 of the 30 were placed up through those little self-serve kiosks that they have.
Do they know the reason why he stopped betting at the kiosk? Did he run out of money, or did they start to flag it at that point, take it off the board?
Yeah. I'm not sure. They did take it off the board eventually that afternoon, pretty much across the market. U.S. Integrity, the IC360 guys that kind of send out the alerts. They sent out an alert about 2:30 p.m. Central Time that day, and then right after that, pretty much the market was gone. No props on Rozier are available.
Okay, so he goes 30-0. He wins every bet. Rozier plays 10 minutes. My question to you is, how has the NBA cleared Rozier, but not the feds?
The NBA does not have some of the investigative powers that the feds do, right? They can't subpoena somebody's phone. So it's a lot of talking to the players, talking to agents, trying to gather whatever it is they can. Now, it is against the rules if a player is to have relayed information about his playing status to anybody involved in gambling. That's part of the gambling policy. We don't know what that's what happened. Rozier's attorney has said he had nothing to do with it. He doesn't know anybody involved in any of the gambling scandals that are going around. And so the NBA, I guess, did as much as they could and decided that he did not violate any of the rules.
Was he the only person who was doing this on game day, or was it happening with other groups, other people in other states?
6 sports books in multiple states. However, the alert sent out by U.S. Integrity, according to people that were familiar with the alert, they did say that it happened mostly in Louisiana and Mississippi. The game there is in New Orleans, and I've heard reports that were people going to the counter down there at Caesars right there on Canal Street in New Orleans and placing these large bets as they could, trying to get down on Rozier.
Oh, my God. Oh, it stinks. It stinks. How about the guy you do all this for $13,000?
Well, you're trying to get as much as you have. You guys and I have talked about it. If you have some sort of information like that, guys are going to do whatever they can to get as much money down as they can. And maybe for whatever reason, he stopped at that amount. Maybe he was out of cash, or maybe that's all they were going to take that day.
You wrote this in the story as well. And by the way, it's Follow the Money here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Our guest, David Purdom, does a great job covering sports betting for ESPN, and he is on the Progressive Guest line. One of the paragraphs you wrote said that some of the same betting accounts that wagered on Jontay Porter also bet on Rozier props in the Hornets-Pelicans game, in addition to multiple college basketball games that were flagged for suspicious wagering activity over the past 2 seasons. Can you elaborate on that? What else might you know about that?
Yeah, so there is a gambling ring that we first became aware of with the Jontay Porter scandal. For those of you who remember Jontay Porter, he pled guilty to basically taking himself out of 2 games during the 2024 season to help his gambling associates, win bets on the under on his props. He has pleaded guilty to that, admitted that in court. Some of those same accounts, as it turns out, according to people familiar with all this, had bet on Rozier props as well, in addition to some of the suspicious college basketball games that have been flagged over the recent seasons. We had stuff at Temple, we had stuff at Eastern Michigan, stuff at UNO, New Orleans, Mississippi Valley State, North Carolina A&T. Those are all the schools that we've heard had suspicious betting and were, same betting accounts were betting on those games.
Well done.
Any of the same accounts, by the way, tied into Malik Beasley or the pitcher for the Guardians, Ortiz?
So the only tie we have at this time is that it's the same prosecutors out of the Eastern District of New York. They are prosecuting Jontay Porter, and they're also the ones that are looking at Terry Rozier. So Malik Beasley is getting looked at by the same prosecutors, so you would have to assume it's part of that widespread gambling probe. But that's the only ties we have at this time.
Do you have an update on Ortiz? And again, you don't want to sound the alarms or make suspicious bets, but if you're betting first pitch of an inning for a significant amount of money, I think that would do it. Any idea what those bets were in size and what an Ortiz update is?
Yeah, I have not heard exactly what the size was of the overall total handle, but certainly was large enough to make some people suspicious going, what's going on here? My understanding is they first noticed it in a June 15th game against the Mariners. This is a Guardians-Mariners game. Why is there suddenly a little bit more interest in this first pitch of this inning being a ball? Then they saw it again in June 27th, and this was against the Cardinals. Again, a lot of money or a lot of interest started showing up on an Ortiz pitch to be a ball or a hits batsman in this game, and then they sent out the alerts. And now Ortiz, he was first put on paid leave through the All-Star break. They went ahead and extended that leave through August 31st, while they continue the investigation.
Wow. Well, David, I think last time that you were on, I said I'm willing to bet that we're going to talk to you again by the end of the year for a player under investigation. I guess I'll talk to you next week.
Very possible. Very possible.
All right.
Oh, God.
Thanks, pal. Are we going to come out here for Bet Bash?
Yeah, I'll be there at Bet Bash.
Very good. See you then.
Excellent.
Thanks, David.
Great job.
See you then. Bye-bye.
Great report.
There you go. Yep. Follow him on X, by the way, at David Perdaman. You can read him at ESPN.
Guy uses his player's card,
Yeah.
the kiosk stuff, and then goes to the window for $2,700.
That almost
on the
makes me
player
think
prop.
that it was just random then, right?
Wow, the story was out. School was out on that. I mean, that's just, come on.
Now, here's the thing, too. And
I mean,
look,
30. He wins every single bet, goes 30 and all.
I know.
Okay.
in 10 minutes, that'll do it for me.
I'm hurt. Yeah.
So, but you said this last time David was on. You hate to get, involved with the, social media experts who are out there.
Yes.
But
yeah.
some of the videos I watched with Terry Rozier, it looked like it was AI. It was so bad.
Yeah,
I mean, the
there's
dribbling was just like, dude, have you ever played basketball in your life?
Yeah. He's made a ton of money too.
That's the.
But and then the Pablo Torre report with this Moose guy that they tracked down, and they asked someone close to Beasley, "Do you believe this?" Yeah, he's dumb. He's stupid. He's capable of anything. Was the return text, but the Beasley thing in the one game where it's an 8-point game with 10 seconds, he goes the length of the floor and lays into the buzzer to cut it on. They
covered the number.
Yeah, it covered as a result. Yeah, I don't know.
Well, the Rozier thing,
Yeah,
dude,
made a lot of money.
he was making on average more than $24 million a year. Win some, lose some. Up next, upsets galore in the UFC over the weekend. Paulie shares the details coming up here on VSiN.
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
All right, Paul. So, NFL, not that far away, 10 days out from the Hall of Fame game. Can't wait. And then after that, forget about it with preseason. And then we're here, basically, right? Season's right around the corner. We were on vacation last week. Plenty of reading up, listening, podcasts, that kind of stuff on NFL, notes from last year, looking at this year.
That is a good feeling.
Yeah,
it's
is.
Good. It's
it really
fun
is.
to say. This is the final week without football till February.
So I wanna say that the first bet you made, correct me if I'm wrong, though, was the Lions under 10.5 wins?
Correct.
Okay. So,
Issues off the offensive line and missing the coordinators.
Yeah.
And a big part was the schedule. At Green Bay, at Baltimore, at Cincinnati, at Kansas City, at Philadelphia, at Los Angeles to take on the Rams, close at Minnesota, at Chicago, Goff and Detroit could have several bad weather games, outside, cold, wind, whatever.
All right, so after reading up more about how the schedule breaks down, Warren Sharp's book is invaluable this time of year. And when you see the rest advantage they're going to have for all those games, or most of them anyway, taking on these teams on the road, and you can run down the details here too.
Yeah.
By the way, have you changed your mind at all of being so strong to the Lions kind of having an off season? Because I'm with you. I think they're going to come back to the pack this year.
Yeah, it was just a little. I still like it. I don't I loved it. But then when you read Sharp, it's like, okay, he's making good points. You play 5 games where the opponent's off Monday Night Football.
That's unbelievable.
They play 8 games where they have a rest advantage. That's a record. 8 games. But some of them are small, though. That's the comeback. Week 18, they play the Bears. The Lions are off a mini bye. That's +3. Week 16, they play the Steelers, who are off Monday Night Football, +1. So, first team in history to play 5 opponents after a Monday night game. They play 1 game all season with a rest disadvantage, and it's 1 day. And you're playing +7 net games with the rest advantage, 8 positive, 1 negative. No team since at least 1990 has played more than +4 net games with a rest advantage. They're +7 in net games with a rest edge. That's crazy. That can help them. Mm-hmm. That's big. But I still go back to what I talked about, where it's, yes, you're playing all these playoff teams. Yes, your schedule is brutal, and then it's a lot of road games. How about at Cincinnati and at Kansas City back-to-back? Oh, by the way, you come home and it's Tampa Bay.
Sure. Who they lost to last year at home in a game they never should have lost to.
Right. And then you come out of the bye, Minnesota, Washington, Philly. I mean, it doesn't end. And the Bears should be improved. And we'll see if Boy Wonder can do wonders and help and fix Williams. And I think he can.
So overall, when you go back the last couple of years, the NFL really put the screws to a couple of teams with the rest disadvantage, and that's why I look to bet unders in the NFL for win totals more than overs. And last year, one of the reasons why I bet on the 49ers to go under. And that was a team that over the years has been filled with massive injuries. I actually expected that to come back to the pack last year. It did not. They were still always banged up, and they were just completely up against it with their schedule with a massive amount of rest disadvantage games from week 1 through the end of the year. And after, reading Sharp's breakdown of it, you're like, oh my God, that's an automatic play to the under on their win total. And it came in. It was just too much to overcome. The injury certainly helped out again. For the Lions now to have all of this in their favor. I mean, the NFL kind of gave them, I think they maybe looked at how many impossible teams that they were playing and said, how can we kind of alleviate that problem? Because if this would have been flipped and would have been similar to the Niners last year where they were up against it with a rest disadvantage, this would have been the biggest play in my life for the Lions under 10.5 and also alt numbers below 9.5, maybe even below 8.5. But they didn't do that to them. In fact, they completely reversed that and gave them many areas here when you look at it. And maybe one day doesn't mean that much overall. But again, the +1 against the Bears in week 2, that to me is probably going to be a big deal, enough to negate what Ben Johnson knows against this team and maybe areas in the defense that he can exploit being with the team for a handful of years. It's +1 against the Chiefs as well, +3 against the Vikings off a Thursday night game, +3 against the Bears later on in the year. Mm-hmm. All that stuff is going to help out immensely for the Lions this year.
Yeah, it's good info, but I'm not going to change my mind as a result of that. I still think it's still, even though with that small advantage that they have, it's still a brutal schedule, and I just think the issues with the O-line and losing the coordinators in a tough division, I can't see them getting to 11 wins.
Yeah.
But I did change my mind on one team as a result of reading Sharp. Not the Lions, but I changed my mind on the Bengals, reading Sharp.
You were high on them before?
I was high on the Bengals.
Oh, yeah. I read about the Bengals.
Yeah. Between what's going on with Hendrickson and the fact that how bad was their defense last year?
It was one of the worst in the league.
Right.
That's not the only thing, by the way, that was bad.
Yeah. Burrow has been sacked 164 times in the last 4 years, second most in the league. The next line of thinking requires combining blitz rate with quick pressures. The more you're blitzed, the more likely you are to be hit quickly by a defender, Sharp writes. But Burrow has been blitzed at the lowest rate of any quarterback the last 4 years, but no quarterback has been hit by defenders more quickly than Burrow. Sustained 148 quick hits within 2.5 seconds of the snap, most in the NFL. He's been quick hit nearly 25% more than the second most hit quarterback in the NFL, as Sharp writes. That's outrageous. Now, this leads me to the defense. They were awful defensively, kept them out of the playoffs. Burrow, Chase, all-time great numbers, still can't make the playoffs. They couldn't stop a nosebleed, and they played the number 1 easiest schedule of quarterbacks. Brissett, Danny Dimes, Winston, Watson, DTR, Minshew, Ritter, Rush, Rudolph, Levis, DTR again, Andy Dalton, Russell Wilson twice.
Yeah, that's fairly alarming.
Boy, that's bad. That's a great breakdown.
And it goes from that schedule to being much more difficult this year, as one would imagine, unless, of course, those opposing teams have injuries. And I love what Sharp detailed in his book. He said, and he compared him to Paul Skeens, by the way. Like, he was looking, he saw a stat earlier this year on Paul Skeens, like how great he's been, but he doesn't have, like, wins to show for it. And he goes, I'm not a baseball guy on Twitter. So what's the comparison in football? And he had like 1 million interactions on his Twitter account. And the overwhelming feedback, the guy who came up the most was Joe Burrow. And as he pointed out, with that bad of a defense and those numbers with the offensive line, how bad it's been overall, not just last year, but for years now, the fact that he put up those numbers and they still were on the edge of making the playoffs and won that many games, and he compared him to like Mahomes since he came in, Jackson since he came in, and Josh Allen, and they have much better teams overall, better defenses, way better offensive lines. He's like, those are team stats, right? Wins in baseball, that's not a pitcher stat. Those are team stats. Same thing here. That's a Joe Burrow stat. The fact that he could put up those numbers and they could still come up with that many wins. And do we just expect the Bengals defense to like flip magically because they changed defensive coordinators?
Yeah.
I know they addressed that side of the ball a lot, but I don't think it's going to be enough.
Yep. So and then still the lines are up against it too. They played the third toughest schedule this year. So last year, the 10 most difficult schedules, only 2 made the playoffs. With the easiest schedules, top 10 in the league, easiest schedules, 7 of the 10 had a winning record, 6 made the playoffs. Most difficult schedules, Giants, Browns, Lions, Eagles, Vikings. Easiest schedules, Niners, Patriots, Saints, Atlanta, Bills. Lions did it last year, though. They were one of the 2 teams that got in there.
Sure.
Detroit and the Rams.
Mm-hmm. And we'll expand on the Buffalo Bills coming up in about 20 minutes here.
Yeah.
Top 5 easy offense
Right
like
there.
you talked about.
Atlanta's intriguing, too.
Very intriguing.
I can see you can make a case for over and under with the win total.
100%.
A lot went wrong. Can't be worse defensively. Got to improve there. And then how bad Cousins was when he was hurt.
Well, and I got to tell you, too, because Michael Penix, when he was at Washington, was so accurate with his, wherever he was throwing the ball. The guy blew me away. The first game that I watched when he played as a member of the Huskies, and I watched as many games, went to 2, 3 of them live, actually in person. I had no idea that last year he was actually inaccurate. To that point where he was one of the worst quarterbacks in the league for that stretch of games that he played. Cousins, super accurate, but couldn't move. Penix, wildly inaccurate.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
No arm strength at the end, too.
But I think my conclusion on Atlanta was this.
Mm-hmm.
If you believe that Penix can kind of find that accuracy that he had in Washington, they can win. They can easily win 8 games this year.
1-6 against the top 10 defense last year. Cousins, 26 in penalties per game, -6 in the turnover battle. And Cuckoo Kachu killed them in several games.
Oh, awful.
Yep.
Like their field goal stuff.
Sure.
And opposing kickers never missed anything.
That's right. Get our NFL betting guide. Our college guide drops August 5th. Hall of Fame game next Thursday. Division previews. Win total bets, props, MVP. It's all up there. Plus, when you join the team, every best bet, every host, every guest. Nigel and the Meat Man are back. We got lower league soccer that starts in less than 2 weeks. The betting splits, the 24/7 videos, vsin.com/subscribe. Lock in your football special. $175 through the Super Bowl. College Guide August 5th. Lock it in now, $175, vsin.com/subscribe.
Jeff Sherman from the Westgate coming up next. We'll get a contest update from their property and how we adjusted NBA future odds after the Summer League next.
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
Welcome back. We're live downtown Vegas. Circa Resort and Casino is a spot. We're going to head across town here in Las Vegas now. Jeff Sherman joins the program from the Westgate Superbook. He is the VP of Risk Management, and he is on the Progressive Guest Line. Jeff, thanks for the time today. How are you?
Doing great. How's it going, guys?
Doing really well. You're in charge of all the golf numbers over at the Westgate, and you closed Scotty Scheffler at 6-1 to win the Open Championship, which he did in flying colors yesterday. A, what kind of a result was that for your property? And B, can you see Scotty getting in the 5-1 territory at all in any event next year?
Well, first of all, Scotty was a solid result for us, one of the better ones in the outright market. I kept inching him up till he reached 6 on Wednesday, before the tournament. And, we had some takers, but nothing overwhelming. They were looking elsewhere this week, with, what we've seen in past Opens being more open. So he was really solid for us. And, I tweeted out about, I doubt you're going to see him over 5-1 unless he really puts a string together of finishing out of contention, 40th place, multiple times in a row, just because we've seen him where the Scottish Open, he didn't look like he had his best. And so that kind of turned people off for the Open Championship last week. But, that's what you have to look for is you might be able to find the odds ease out if he's just not winning, a few in a row like he had earlier this season. And one thing we've seen about him this year is when he wins by a lot. So regarding that potential, I doubt you're going to see numbers creep up. I lowered him from 5-1 down to 7-2 for the Masters next year. And I just felt even 4-1 looks high at this point in time. So we'll see how the adjustment goes over a period, but I would doubt he's going to reach 5-1 for Augusta.
Mm-hmm. Certainly he's not Tiger, but that's where, if he brings his B+ game, it's over. Maybe even his B game. There's nothing these guys can do about it.
No, I'll tell you, I've been doing this for 30 years, and there's no question he's the closest thing that I've seen to Tiger, especially over time. Sometimes these guys get on heaters for a few weeks, but this has been a few years for him right now.
Yeah,
well,
the double bogey didn't even phase him.
No.
And then in round one, I think he only hit 3 fairways.
Yeah, and you have to consider the field, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and, what we've seen that's even scarier this past week is his putting has been improving, and that was his deficiency. So, he puts all that stuff together, and it's going to be really challenging for these guys if it's not already.
Yeah, no kidding. Okay, so the Summer League concluded last night. The Charlotte Hornets, your winners. I like their draft. I think they're a young and up-and-coming team. Now, can they hit next year? Unlikely in terms of maybe being a force in the East. Did you make adjustments at all to certain teams, maybe like a Charlotte, maybe some other teams that impressed you with a win total, with division odds, with chances to make the playoffs, to win a conference, any of that stuff?
No, nothing based on Summer League. I do like the Hornets. We're a little bit higher than market at 26.5 wins. There's 24.5, 25.5 out there. A lot of that has to do with the health of LaMelo Ball. He's missed so much time the past couple of years, but if he can stay on the court with the guys that they've drafted, I think they can have a season where they can reach 30 wins. But we didn't make any adjustments. I'll tell you, the one thing that we've been making an adjustment on over the past week is there has been a lot of Knicks over and Bucks under money, and Knicks to win the title and conference and division. And this is from sharp players. So a lot of anticipation that there could be a trade coming.
Okay. Dive into that a little bit then.
Hey.
Who do you think that might be?
Well, obviously Giannis to the Knicks, and would have to see the return, but that's what a lot of speculation is out there. And like I said, it's been sharp money that's come with the Bucks under and the Knicks over. And, usually you don't see that when people are speculating too much. I mean, obviously there is some speculation, but it's been multiple players have been playing this.
Okay. Yeah,
Wow.
I was going to say Giannis for Cat, and then maybe something else along with that, obviously, from the Knicks side.
Well, it'd have to start with Cat, and it could be Michael Bridges, maybe OG. They don't have much draft capital, so it could be a third team involved, something like that. But something to keep an eye on that could happen later this summer.
How
That would
about
be wild.
How about Rookie of the Year, by the way?
Yeah.
Any major adjustments there?
Yeah, there has been some based on what we saw in the Summer League. VJ Edgecombe, he dropped. He was around 25-1. He's down to 10-1. Colin Kneppel, he's had a nice Summer League, nice game last night. Down to 30-1. He was higher. The two larger moves too. Nick Clifford down to 40-1, and Hanson Yang 40-1 for Portland. He was very popular. So you've seen some movement in that market based on what we saw the last couple of weeks.
That kid might not be bad. There was a lot of mocking him because he was in the crowd, whatever, with the draft. But that kid might actually can play. Any movement on the Clippers? And did you upgrade them based on getting Beal and today Chris Paul?
Yeah, there has been movement on the Clippers, and they're down to 18-1. Chris Paul, no effect on that, but the Beal addition, they got these guys on such a cheap contract, and just to plug them in with what they already got, they made the trade for John Collins, getting rid of Norman Powell, which I'm not a Collins guy. They signed Brooke Lopez, but so they have some depth on the team.
Yeah.
An older team, obviously, but they have a lot of depth, a good starting five, some depth, a starting point in the Pacific Division now. So I had the Lakers as the favorite for the Pacific Division. Now the Clippers are the favorite for that. So some respect from the Clippers odds being south of 20-1 now, and adjustments throughout on them.
It's a deep roster. I know they have, but when I'm watching the four-letter network and a guy says they're title contenders now because they get Beal, I mean that's just crazy.
No,
I mean the guy was on the Suns team. They won 36 games.
Yeah, but I can't get there.
No,
there's no way.
now Harden's still on the team.
Yeah,
I mean,
right.
you know what he's going to do in the playoffs, which is nothing.
No, they're still looking quite a far ways up. Obviously, Oak City, but Denver and Houston, I have pegged pretty far ahead of them too at that point. So, I mean, if things went well, you're talking about 4th seed in the West.
Yeah,
Probably. Yeah. Okay.
but by the way, back to that Bucks Knicks thing for 1 second here. If that would be kind of the deal that you're talking about, Cat, Bridges, OG,
That's too much.
for Giannis, I'm not rushing out to bet the Knicks for a second. I think it should be flipped. I'd bet the Knicks under and the Bucks over.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it wouldn't be all three of those players, but some combination of them. But we'd have to see. But that's, like I said, that's what the players are doing right now. We're down to 41.5 on Milwaukee from 43.5 and up to 54.5 on the Knicks. So
54.5.
They're definitely going their separate ways.
Where do you have the Knicks right now compared to the Cavaliers in the Eastern Conference?
Well, I have them the same. I have them each at 8-1 for the title and 5-2 for the conference. And we did take, like I said, sharp money on the Knicks at 10-1 for the title and 3-1 for the conference. So it's brought them closer together here. But if something like that were to go through, then obviously there'd be further adjustments, and the Knicks would be ahead of the Cavaliers.
Do you think there's are you still high, or think there's value on the Sixers in light of the bad news they received on Paul George?
I still think there is value because it's low risk, high reward with that team. And, obviously health, almost like the Dallas Mavericks, there can be in the same conversation with them. But when you can find the Sixers 35-40-1, and you don't have to put up too much for a reward like that, and they can get some fortune on their side with some health, starting with Embiid. But BJ Edgecombe looks nice. He had a couple good games in the summer league, and if they can plug him in, the other pieces are nice there too. So, I doubt it will be, a season-long thing with Paul George, but they have a lot of other pieces there that in a watered-down Eastern Conference, they can make some noise.
Let's follow the money here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Our guest, Jeff Sherman, over at the Westgate Superbook. Can you give us an update on your football contest this year for people who don't know? The original Super Contest, now $1,500 to get in. You're offering a brand new college contest this year and a $5,000 Survivor contest. How's it looking?
Yeah, we have like you said, the Classic Super Contest, $1,500 entry fee. We have 74 entrants so far on that. We have the Super Contest Gold, which is a $5,000 entry fee. Same format, picking 5 against a spread there. There's 6 entrants there. We have the Survivor, which is $5,000 entry fee. And we have 11 entrants there. And then the new college one that you mentioned, which is a $500 entry fee. You're picking 7 selections against a spread. We have 84, so we have 10 more than the Classic Super Contest at this point.
Okay, and for the college contest, you can get 10 entries per person, and you're going to offer, every college game that's on the board, but no extra games is my guess?
Correct. We'll offer the regular rotation schedule, but none of the extra games. So you'll have plenty to choose from. We're not just keeping it limited to the power conferences, but just a regular rotation schedule.
Okay, and that goes through the end of the regular season, I'm guessing, as well. There's no title game Saturday, no bowl games involved.
Correct.
Okay, and I think when you came on a couple weeks ago with us, you threw out a pretty decent number that you thought you could get to. Do you think you get a couple thousand for that, I'm guessing?
I'm optimistic for that, and I think we'll see a lot of late entries on something like this with just the $500 entry fee. So right now there's just a separation of 10 between the college and the Classic Contest, but I think it's going to get wider and wider as we go on.
Yeah, agreed. All right, Jeff, thanks for your time today. We appreciate that.
Anytime. Thanks, guys.
Yep. Follow him on X. He's at Golf Odds.
Betting on sports, why not try the races? First Bet lets you wager on hundreds of races every day from top tracks across the U.S. and around the world. Sign up firstbet.com, promo code VSiN200. Get a 20% rebate for your first 60 days. Up to $200. Head to firstbet.com today.
We'll dive into a team that I'm super strong on this year in various betting markets, but the more I look at last year's numbers, the more issues I see for this season coming up on Follow the Money. It's VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.